Good evening, happy holidays, and welcome to the December 16th meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Flossmoor. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we start. This meeting is being streamed via Zoom for the convenience of those at home. During the public comment policy, I will be calling persons who signed in wishing to speak. Also, we're asked that you come up to the podium and address yourself, also give your name and address. We ask that you act with decorum and address the public body at large and not a single member of staff. And we ask that you limit your speaking time to 5 minutes per person for a total public comment policy of 30 minutes. And before I get started, I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarity. I know we're all excited about the development on Flossmoor Road that's going to be discussed tonight. This discussion does not preclude the procedural process. This is a review, and the approval tonight would simply give the developers control over the property for a set period of time while placing about $100,000 into testing the planned unit development process, design and engineering, financing, permits, and then overall board approval. So there are a lot of meetings in between now and actually getting something in the ground, about 10 months worth of meetings. So this is a part of a process that gives them control over the land so that we don't undercut them and give it to somebody else with the extensive amount of time and money that they're going to be putting into it. Development will bring in property and sales tax revenue that we'll talk about to help offset the residential tax burden, and I look forward to hearing comments from those of you who wish to speak on this during the public comment section. Thank you so much. The time is 7:35, so Clerk Alvin, please call the roll.
Trustee Brady Scott. Present. Trustee Daggett. Here. Trustee Driscoll. Here. Trustee Lofton. Here. Trustee Mitros. Here. Trustee Mustafa. Here. Mayor Nelson.
Present. Thank you so much. We have a quorum. We don't have any special recognitions or appointments tonight, so I'm going to skip straight to citizens present wishing to address the board. And first on the list is Warren Engelberg. Welcome.
Thank you. San Juan County is a county composed particularly of islands right off the coast of the state of Washington in the United States. I'm directing your attention there because they just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of something extraordinary they did with the 200 employees of that county, the police and the fire and the clerks and all the others that a county in the United States employs. They went from a 40-hour week to a 32-hour week. And now, 1 year later, and what they decided was it was a roaring success, and that's why I'm bringing it up. The people who run the county sat down with the union that represents 70% of the 200 workers there, Local 1149 of the American Federation of State, Local, and Municipal Employees, one of the major public employee unions in the United States. And here's what they discovered when everybody went on a 4-day week rather than a 5-day-a-week schedule. Here's a list. They had a rise in applications of people who want the job. They had a fall in the number who quit the job. They had a fall in the number of people who took sick days. And they had an improvement in the productivity and the declarations of satisfaction given in by the workers. In other words, significant savings. You don't have to retrain people. You don't have to find substitutes on sick days, etc. And you know what? They love it there because it meant that they didn't have to raise taxes on the people there the way they might have because they got such savings. The workers got time off. They worked out a division of how to pay for this between the employees getting fewer hours and not suffering what it might otherwise have been in reduced hours that were paid. And the county saved all that money on all those listed items that improved. And that a better way to run the fiscal affairs of our counties is not to have politicians decide, because they don't have the courage to tax corporations and the rich. And we know it. They tend, if they tax anyone, to tax the rest of the people who therefore pay more than their fair share. It's a scandal that exists everywhere. And so here we see the county officials working with the union and coming up with a better solution for all those concerned. Maybe working with the union is a better way to solve local problems than to have the people who are elected doing it in ways that we can see are not representative at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amber. Next, I have Nelson Hill. Welcome, Ms. Hill.
Hi there. Thank you all very much. My name is Nelson Hill. My family moved here to Flossmoor in 2020. My oldest is a second grader in Miss Washwell's class at Western, and my younger 3 are in preschool at FCC. I had the great pleasure to work with some of your students during HF's award-winning production of You're in Town last spring, which I costumed. I'm here tonight to voice my concerns about the development proposal y'all are voting on tonight. I think that the trustees should vote no on this proposal. I believe it's the wrong development for the community. This high-value lot represents a great opportunity for expanding our central business district in a vibrant and walkable location. The rendering on the commissioned proposal, which stands on the site, represents a 30-plus units above retail space. And although I'm sure that this plan is not without its challenges, I believe that this type of higher density project would impact the community in more powerful, positive, and meaningful ways than the proposed 13 townhomes and the cafe. I would also really appreciate greater transparency with the process. I would love for there to be more workshopping, more presentations which are open to the community involving all potential developers. And with that, I'll leave you with the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Ms. Andrea Perry, welcome.
Good evening, Andrea Perry is a 37-year constituent of Flossmoor. I'd like to continue to share with the board excerpts from an article which I began sharing last meeting, but due to time constraints, I've had to do it in 2 parts. Tonight is a part 2 of the article posted by the advocacy organization FIRE, Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. The article, First Amendment Protections for Public Comment at Government Meetings. When government bodies establish public comment periods, they must adhere to fundamental First Amendment principles. They cannot shut down or silence speakers simply because they offer a disfavored viewpoint or criticize government officials. By David L. Hudson, Jr., Associate Professor of Law at Belmont University. Last meeting, I shared the first part, which was on the First Amendment principles of public comment periods. Tonight, part 2 is on public forum doctrine and your right to speak at public meetings. The First Amendment principles of allowing citizens to criticize the government, protecting objectionable or offensive speech, and avoiding discrimination based on content are vitally important. But in the specific context of public comment periods, additional considerations come into play, those arising under the public forum doctrine. Courts consider public comment periods to be either limited public forums or designated public forums, depending on the rules the governing body applies. Most courts consider public comment periods to be designated public forums, forums that government officials have opened up or designated for freedom of expression. When the government creates a designated public forum, the government cannot make viewpoint or content-based restrictions on speech unless they meet strict scrutiny, the highest form of judicial review. In other words, when the government creates a designated public forum, that forum holds the government's feet to the First Amendment fire just as much as in traditional public forums, which are the streets, parks, and other public spaces society has immemorially held in trust for public use to assemble, communicate thoughts between citizens, and discuss public questions. Several courts have applied the public forum doctrine and First Amendment principles to invalidate policies that unnecessarily limit speech during public comment periods. For example, in Baca versus Moreno Valley Unified School District CD, California, 1996, a federal district court in California invalidated a school board policy that prohibited individuals during a public comment period from making charges or complaints against any employee of the school district. The court held that this content-based speech restriction could not withstand First Amendment review and impermissibly impacted the right of speakers and those in the audience who wanted to listen to them. The U.S. Court Appeals for the Sixth Circuit invalidated a school board policy that restricted so-called abusive, personally directed, and antagonistic public comments during board meetings. The appeals court explained in Eisen versus Madison Local School District Board of Education, Sixth Circuit, 2021, that these restrictions are in violation of the First Amendment. Furthermore, the Sixth Circuit noted that a review of the video evidence showed that the speakers in question actually spoke in calm, measured tones rather than engaging in disruptive behavior as claimed by school officials. Conclusion. When government bodies establish public comment periods, they must adhere to fundamental First Amendment principles. They cannot shut down or silence speakers simply because they offer a disfavored viewpoint or criticize government officials. The essence of a free society is that members of the public have the ability to voice their opinions, including ones critical of government officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Ms. Gloria Lippert. Welcome. Mr. Jeffrey Lippert, would you like to join me?
I'll speak after her.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Gloria Lippert, and I'm here to speak about a brief comment about the development on Flossmoor Road. I agree with the earlier citizen who was concerned about the development that is before you this evening. I feel like it is hastily decided upon that the 60-unit rental development feels like it is a better fit for our village. I have been in this village since 1968. I am an older citizen. If at some point I could not live in my home, I would be very interested in a luxury rental close to the train in downtown Flossmoor. The proposal that I have seen for this opposite development than you're considering this evening would bring more vibrancy and tax base for our village that the 13-unit town development would not bring. I would heartily wish you did not approve the townhouse development this evening. If at further discovery and an opportunity to look at both and maybe a third proposal, you might find that there is an alternative to what is on the table this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share my view with you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Jeffrey Lippert.
Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Lippert. I'm here wearing two hats as I speak. First hat is as a commissioner on the Green Commission. Understand that regarding agenda item number 10, which Gloria just referred to, the Green Commission has not been consulted on this at all. And I, as a commissioner appointed by this government to watch out for what's going on with the environment. I do believe that item number 10 should be tabled until the Green Commission can be consulted on this and we can give it some new thought also. As a Green Commissioner, we've been trying to come up with the ability of finding a place to put EV chargers, which would draw more business into the town as people came and waited for their cars to charge up. They need to go someplace to shop and someplace to eat. And I understand that the opposite proposal, the proposal that's not on the table, might have the ability to give us a location for that in an adjacent parking lot across the street, which this one would not. We've also been trying to figure out how we can get solar panels that would help produce electricity for our village, and it's quite possible that either of these proposals might have roof space for those solar panels, and that would provide electricity for our village. As a concerned citizen, I do not understand why we need to pay the agenda number 10 BG Park Center LCC almost $1.5 million to build what they want to build. We have prime property here in Flossmoor, and right around the corner from our main business district is even more prime. So we're giving away $1.5 million for somebody to build this project. From what I understand, doesn't make sense to me. And I do believe that having a project that has more commercial viability, to have more businesses draw businesses, rather than the other way around. It's quite possible that we've got a couple of empty spaces in Flossmoor, or coming up empty spaces in down Flossmoor, so because there's not as much reason for people to come to Flossmoor. Let's make it so people want to come to Flossmoor. Come up with a project that does that. What are your objectives for building this, or for developing this space? And I think that the public should know what those objectives are and how the proposals that are available to you meet those objectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lippert. And definitely the Green Commission would be consulted during any development process. Appreciate your service. Next up, Ms. Philippa Leon Thompson. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and happy holiday season. To our village leadership, and to you in the audience this evening, my name is Philippa Leon Thompson, and I wish to express my concern about the tone and conduct during recent village hall meetings. While these gatherings are meant to focus on the village business and address the needs of our community, they have unfortunately, at times, devolved into exchanges of disrespect between and among our village leadership. Civility is defined as formal politeness and courtesy in behavior or speech. It is an essential element in fostering productive discussions and maintaining trust and respect within our community. As elected officials, trustees and the mayor are in positions of influence and leadership. The character displayed in these roles directly impact the public's perception of our village government. Leaders should be able to disagree respectfully. It is possible to have passionate debates while maintaining self-dignity and mutual respect. As election season unfolds, I understand the temptation to make negative remarks about opponents, to make them appear unfit and small. But village hall meetings are not the appropriate venue for such commentary. These meetings should remain focused on conducting the business of the village efficiently and effectively without advancing personal or political agenda or choosing sides. Otherwise, it becomes a distraction, and that is unwanted. Character, it counts, and it matters. If you are an elected official, you should exhibit character that upholds the dignity of your position. If you are considering running for office, your character counts. Having good character should be a prerequisite when seeking office. Former Superintendent Dr. Donna Joy introduced character counts to School District 161 many years ago. 6 characters or pillars were identified. The pillars of good character are trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. These pillars remain a timeless guide for ethical leadership at any age. Whether you are currently an elected official or considering running for office, these qualities are essential. I respectfully ask that all members of the village board reflect on these values and prioritize civility and mutual respect in their interactions. By doing so, we can ensure these meetings are productive, professional, and focused on the best interest of our community. During the village hall meeting, a bright moment was captured when Gina, our village clerk, said, "I want to get this right." That statement reflects the attitude or character you should all bring to your roles, striving to get things right. It means prioritizing the community's well-being over personal or political gain. So thank you, Gina, for modeling good character and for exhibiting civility during that moment. And so I ask the village board to reflect on these characters, these pillars, and commit to civility, professionalism, and unity in service to our community by fostering that atmosphere of respect and collaboration. You can ensure that our village governance sets the standard we can all take pride in. Thank you for your time, your attention, and hopefully your commitment. I remain confident that you can achieve a positive and productive environment where civility and character are at the forefront when conducting village business. And before I sit, I wish to encourage everyone to take part in the village's 10th year of honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service on January 20th. To quote Dr. King, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Please find additional information on the village website. And again, we ask for you to participate.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Welcome, Ms. Gigi Gummerson.
I'm not as prepared, but I will say the development or the non-development that has happened on Flossmoor Road started over 25 years ago when I was on the village board. So,
Could you speak into the microphone so I can hear you?
Certainly. Thank you.
so I'm also a longtime resident, but I've been here since 1961. I was born here. So I understand that the challenge in bringing development and commercial retail space to the area. I owned a store for 8 years. I can tell you, great. It's great to have those stores uptown. The problem is nobody walks in them. So I would love to raise a hand who has actually done shopping in Flossmoor in the past week. Okay, excellent. And I'm not talking, wait, food doesn't count. Food doesn't count. Okay, so it's a lot less. So that's great, food's wonderful, but the problem is these little stores who put their heart and soul into them and their money are dying. So if you don't go in and spend your $10 once a week, once a month, whatever that is, we have people that have moved out of town because there isn't enough of our citizens going into those stores. You have shopkeepers in Homewood that have to get a second job just to make those viable. I would just say, yes, retail development is wonderful. It is, with the Amazons of today and so many others, it's not as wonderful or viable as it could be. I don't care, 60 units, townhouses, it doesn't matter to me. I think it's just amazing that you found somebody, because after the past 3 mayors of trying to get some kind of building done down there, and it's never happened. So I applaud you all for taking this on because it is a big challenge, and I hope it comes to the best of fruition for our little town. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next I have Ms. Model Dubois. Did you say anything? You don't have to, but you don't have to.
Oh, sorry, Michelle. I thought I was signing.
Okay, no worries. No worries.
But maybe I could talk about Lunar New Year. So I'll take this opportunity. I'm the commissioner from our Community Relations Commission. Oh, I'm so sorry, Gloria. Hello everyone. Happy holidays. Good to see you all. But I'm excited to announce that we're also going to be relaunching Lunar New Year. And we're excited to have lots of activities. It's going to be January 25th, and it's Year of the Snake. And last year we had 75 participants, so hopefully every year we'll increase that to bring awareness about how our Asian community celebrates. This is like the biggest holiday for the Asian community, and we hope that you bring your kids to celebrate. And speaking of Gigi, we are talking to Morgan, about the shops and having an evening activity for adults in the Lunar New Year to bring people out to shop at Gypsy Fix and the other stores to also encourage businesses. So hopefully you can expand that, but please come for Lunar New Year celebration. It's going to be another exciting event. That's it. That's my promotion.
Thank you, Mr. Dawn, and thanks for all you do for the community relations. Next I have Ms. Pam Jackson. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm before you today to express my concern regarding the lack of substantive discussion on crucial topics that come before the board, often for vote, that certainly warrant greater discussion. Perhaps there could be consideration of a designated committee of the whole meeting for such topics. As a frequent attendee of your board meetings, I believe that some of these matters deserve thorough examination of the dialogue, as referenced by a few others. I'm also concerned about the apparent lack of transparency in decision making. It seems that decisions are being made outside of public view and then presented to the board as later currently. On a separate note, I'd like to request that the board reconsider the proposed change of meeting time. As a District 161 parent, I would like the opportunity to attend both meetings. Moving the start time to 7 p.m. would make this impossible. Perhaps the village and school district 161 could coordinate so both meetings could be attended. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. All right, that concludes public comment. Thank you to everybody who is here and presented public comment for the board. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you so much. Is there anything anyone would like to pull?
Number 3 and number 4. Number 6.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items number 1, 2, 5, 7, and 8?
So moved.
Actually, let's include number 7, given the public comments, because don't want to conflict with School District 161.
Sure, that means we'll also be pulling number 8 off, because those two are tied together. So can I get a motion? I'm so sorry, you got a motion on the table. I'm going to ask for a new motion. Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items number 1, 2, and 5?
Second.
Let's see, clerk O'Donnell, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Brady Scott? Yes. Trustee Daggett?
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll?
Yes.
Trustee Lofton?
Yes.
Trustee Mitros?
Yes.
Trustee Musaka?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution amending the budget for fiscal year 24-25 for the Village of Flossmoor?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you so much. I'm going to actually ask Village Manager Wachtell maybe to give a little bit of background on what this item is before I ask for comments.
I will introduce the item and then turn it over to Finance Director Novoa. This is our quarterly budget amendment resolution. We do these 4 times a year. Sometimes we are passing budget amendments when specific projects or purchases come before the village board. And at that same time, there might be a budget amendment associated with it. At other times of the year, we are reviewing our financials and noticing that we have to make adjustments to the budget, and so we capture those through this quarterly budget amendment process. The budget amendments are then filed with the county. We file our budget annually with the county, and we file the amendments with the county as well. And is there anything else you would like to add? No. Okay. Yeah, I think you covered it. Is there any specific questions about this item?
Trustee Russo. Thank you. Thanks for the background, Manager Walker. My questions are not to imply that I disagree with the item on the consent agenda. I'm seeking a refresher of what's before us and also some questions just for understanding. So what we have before us for this item number 3 includes 3 separate memos which talk about specific amendments. The first one is listing public works related items, and it's my understanding that the asterisks are the ones that have not been approved yet.
Correct. Yep, the ones with the asterisks are what would be approved.
Okay. And then the other letter is specific to the Art Commission and public art actions that have been taken, which we've all heard, the board has all heard these. And then the last one is related to the building maintenance, which is the floor.
Correct.
Okay. So if you would just, to follow along with my perhaps confusion, page 34 and 35, could you go through the fund balance analysis for the general fund and the fund balance analysis for the capital equipment fund? But first, before you do that, could you define what FFP stands for?
Yes, that's our the finance and facilities plan in the back of our budget.
Okay. And the other acronym I was looking at is, there's one more. It's a DPW. Might not be in this section, but I was seeking the definition on that too. When I get to it, I'll ask again. So I'm looking at an $8,322,000 and $8,322,025 beginning audited fund balance.
Correct.
So what happens when we subtract these line items and we get down to $1,843,000? What is an unallocated fund balance?
So that unallocated fund balance is monies that we have available to allocate to either a project or we can allocate it back into our finance and facilities plan, that's budget. That is just additional funds that are not allocated to a specific project at this moment.
Okay, so when we get to all of this that we'll also hear tonight, will any of these numbers reappear? Like, how do we get back to $8 million? Like, how do we replenish this fund?
So that $8 million is actually out of this audit. That is the audited number that we will be discussing tonight, as well as that reserve number. So that reserve number comes out of the audit each year. It's 33% of our expenditures is our reserve policy. So that's how we come up with that 4.5 million there.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, going through all the other documents we have, there's a different percentage that's allowed for each fund. So it's 33% for this fund, but other funds have a different percentage tolerance, so to speak? Okay. All right, so when we subtract all of these out, then we have about 1.8 million. What is the 1 million for projects allocated? Do we add those together, or how does that work?
So the 1.4 is allocated to projects that will not be completed in the current fiscal year.
That'll be possibly 25, 26.
Yep, correct.
Okay, and then the one from,
Can I add to that, please? So just for the public's edification, the finance and facilities plan is our capital improvement plan. So these are all of the large projects that happen in the village, such as Brookwood Bridge and Brumley Drive reconstruction, water main replacement, et cetera, or water projects, et cetera. When we're talking about projects beyond fiscal year 24, 25, those are for the next 3 years in the plan. So we try to fund 3 years worth of projects to the plan. So that's fiscal year 26, 27, and 28, totaling 1.4, and that number is there for reference.
so then this number could change next year to show a different 3-year period.
Correct.
And then the next year's just on and on, right?
Correct. And then at the end of that document, the back of the budget book, there is a list of projects that we know need to happen, but they haven't been scheduled or funded.
Okay. So then I'm concluding that there's a similar explanation for the fund balance analysis for the capital equipment fund?
Correct. The only difference there is we do not have a reserve policy for that fund.
So what does that mean practically, since we don't?
I mean, basically, that fund is essentially like a savings account for us for all of the capital equipment that purchases over a 10-year span, and even we could go out to 20 years. So we don't have the reserve policy, as in don't take expenditures and reserve a part of that fund balance for future use.
Okay, so for example, we have two $156,000 dump trucks. Thank goodness I don't have to buy one of those. Did they come from this fund?
Yes, correct. Yep. They've been saved for over 10 years.
Yes, I understand. And I see John nodding his head vigorously. Yeah. John, aren't you glad you don't have to buy one? Okay.
So if I can add, this fund operates a little bit differently than the other funds in the budget. So it is essentially a sinking fund where it receives a contribution annually from both the general fund and the water sewer fund.
Moved over.
As its revenue, exactly, to support the savings of the capital equipment replacement. And then annually, as part of the budget process and within the capital equipment fund in your budget, page 91, we do a true-up every year to take a look at 10 years worth of funding to make sure that we're able to cover that 10 years in a way that isn't saving too little or too much. So it's both a science and an art to develop that contribution every year. So this fund operates a little bit differently. It doesn't need to have a reserve. This is a policy of the village board to be saving for our capital equipment versus, going to short-term notes or going out to debt to be able to replace things like squad cars and fire trucks, etc.
All right, thank you. That's what I wanted for this number 3. Thanks, Director Lavelle.
Did you have any questions, Trustee Mustafa? I think there was the art also was part of that.
Oh, I understood that, I think because we've had quite a few presentations and it's not as complicated for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board on item number 3, consent agenda item number 3? Seeing none, Clerk Liddell, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Laughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Mitro.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Bradley Scott.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance for the levy assessment of taxes for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2024 and ending April 30th, 2025 of the Village of Flossmoor, County of Cook, State of Illinois?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you so much. Do you want to do any background on that for the benefit of those watching at home?
Yeah, the discussion of the tax levy occurred on November 18th, and the presentation here this evening is really just putting that into ordinance form so it can be filed with the county. So there was quite a bit of presentation and discussion at that meeting. And is there anything that you would like to highlight? Nothing is particular. This is just a formality. There has to be a 20-day grace period between the discussion and when the ordinance could actually be passed by the board. So that's why it's coming before you this meeting and not last meeting.
Thank you so much. Trustee Musaka, what questions do you have on this?
So similarly, and yes, the presentation was relatively recent, but a couple things I wanted to just ask about. And the first is a housekeeping request. I think it's just an oversight, but when we get lists of numbers like on 43, 45, could they be right justified? It was hard to add the numbers and understand just for comprehension. Well, thank you. The first question I had, in comparing the comprehensive financial report with your brief memo, Director Novoa, the financial report says 3.6%, and it's not a huge difference, but you have a tax cap imposed of 3.4, and I was wondering why there's a difference.
That was just a mistake on my part. It's 3.6.
Okay. So if I add so to get the 4.4, maybe it wouldn't be 4.6 though, would it?
No, the 4.4 is.
It stands?
Yeah.
Okay. So the 4.4 would be a combination of CPI and new property growth?
Correct, as well as the library.
And the library. So please help me understand a little better. When we say, okay, I'm just going to read from your memo. The remaining portion represents the village's new property growth, which includes a factor this year. What is that factor?
So it's a formula that actually my predecessor and I put together to it's an estimate of what we think we will get from new property growth based off of a 3-year span of property development that has happened in the village.
And is that line would be approximately 6.68?
The 6.68 is the bond issuance. So
that's the bond.
Yep. So that new property factor brings it from 3.6 to 4.4.
Okay. Right. The other question I have, and I'm not sure if I'm confusing in my description. So we have 9,324,407. Can you itemize what goes into that 9 million from this list of budgeted amounts?
So if you look on,
because I was trying to take total levy amounts, individual incremental amounts to get back to the 9 million, and I couldn't get my numbers to match.
So in the presentation on the 13th, and I can also send this to you again, there is a breakdown of what exactly makes up that 9.3 million.
Okay.
So if I could refer you, I can send that over to you if you would like.
Right, and again, it's just for understanding. It's not because I'm challenging the necessity or the accuracy. Okay. Do you have anything else? So just as an example, I think my last question is for understanding. If we take, for example, on page 46, where we see right underneath where it says total budget for general corporate purposes, the next line says description tax levy, and then it starts with 984,650. How do we get to total tax levy? Do we just add that column?
So the sum of that column with all of the levy, the description of the levy, is that 6.6 million below.
Yes.
And then that 13 is just the 6.6 minus the 20 above it.
Okay,
So that's just that 13 million is budgeted expenditures that will not be covered under what we're asking for from the levy.
can you see why I was looking at the justification? It was interesting. Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions from the board? Seeing none, clerk O'Donnell, would you please call the roll on item number 4?
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Bradley Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Gaggett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Next up, make a motion to approve the resolution of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, approving an automatic aid agreement.
So moved.
Thank you so much. And Fire Chief Bob Kobeck, or who wants to do? Could you bring everybody here on what that is so we get a better understanding?
Yes, Mayor and Board. So the fire department enters into an auto agreement with the local neighboring communities. So we're part of the Mavis Division 24 mutually limestone system. It's all over the state of Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Michigan. We are locally Mavis 24, consisting of 23 communities, which recently we just brought on board Park Forest, Madison, and Richmond Park. Kind of hence the change in the updating this agreement. The agreement basically just allows us to provide immediate response to neighboring communities for basically any calls they need assistance, whether it's multiple call situations, larger structure fire responses, motor vehicle accidents. It just basically helps offset our limited in our staffing abilities and how many calls we can take at a time. So it's basically a big umbrella policy that allows us to help each other in a time of need. So it allows us to provide aid and also allows us to receive aid on a regular basis.
Thank you so much. For those of you who are familiar with Mavis, they're located over in Homewood, right near the CN and Homewood disposal campuses. And in addition to mutual aid, they also provide training for folks around the region. So it's really nice to have that facility in close proximity. Trustee Bradley Scott, did you have any questions on that?
Yes, I just wanted to learn more information, if clearly, on how the Munster, Indiana operation plays into it, and if there are any additional governmental. I saw that Mavis Interstate is part of that, but in the resolution it didn't incorporate Indiana, so I just wanted to clearly on that.
Yes, so Munster's been part of the division for I think roughly 30 years. It all dates back over 3 decades ago to where they had a significant fire loss at a lumberyard in Indiana. At the time, none of these agreements were in place. And Indiana was pretty far behind the state of Illinois, especially the south suburbs and the fire service. So many, many years ago, Munster became part of Mavis 24, which was all done through the Mavis, originally the 3rd District Fire Association, which is now Mavis. Since Mavis has grown to now incorporate multiple states within the Midwest, we have an intrastate agreement, part of Mavis, that allows us to go to different states and basically provides us the ability to fall under our certifications, provide aid, and receive aid with neighboring states.
Thank you very much.
If I could add, I'm the attorney for Mavis, as well as the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association. So if you have questions on how Mavis works, I can help you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board on this item?
Just one question for clarity. So when we respond to assist another community, we're not left blank because the community immediately next to us, let's say Homewood or one of the surrounding, would then fill in for, because our truck is gone. If there's a call here, they fill in, and that's kind of part of the whole deal, is that no one's left uncovered.
So within the agreement, and I'm just kind of staring at the attorney, is the kind of the model for Mavis is we have your back, right? And that is the whole theory of we deal with the emergency at hand. So we will abandon ship to help a neighbor, and in return they will abandon their ship to help us. But with modern dispatching, with the Econ Dispatch Center, which we're in that process of consolidation, is with the new 911 CAD systems, it's really helped to cut down on any response delays. And we're seeing instantaneous, basically move-ups, where if we go to Homewood, Hazel Crest will come to us within milliseconds. So the technology has really helped to provide a great level of service to all of our communities.
And do they actually move an engine to Flossmoor to be on standby, or they're just ready for the dispatch call?
No, so upon, if we received a call that we weren't available for, it would not only dispatch Flossmoor, but it would automatically assign the next to engine, truck, or ambulance. It would automatically dispatch our incident.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions from any of the board members? Seeing none, Clerk Legally, would you please call the roll on item number 6?
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Brady Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, amending Article 1, Chapter 9 of the Village of Flossmoor Municipal Code?
Second.
Thank you so much. So this item came up, our meetings were going super late, and in the interest of getting through really important village business while people are still at their best, at their peak, and also, just because we were one of the latest starting meetings around, Carl pointed out, and just wanted to get people at their peak. It seemed like it made sense to introduce this. The 161 board meetings are typically held on the second and fourth Monday of the month. They start at 6 p.m. And you'll find changes to those, and I went through and looked in December, April, and May. And I called the superintendent to say, why did you change during those months? Because they switched from the second and fourth Monday to the first and the third Monday, rather than just taking that Monday, which would fall on a holiday, and moving it to a Tuesday, which is our practice. So in December, April, and May, let me back up. In December, May, the fourth Monday falls on a holiday, Christmas or Memorial Day. So they switched to the first and the third. In April, they switched to the first and the third because if they didn't, then they would have back-to-back meetings in April and May. So that's a little different than our practice. Our practice would be to, again, if our meeting falls on a holiday, we switch to the Tuesday after the holiday, like Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We switch to the Tuesday. Juneteenth, we switch to the Tuesday. So that's why that change happens for us, and they treat it a little differently. Open any questions or discussions, and since you asked us to be pulled off, I'll ask for questions from you first. Thank you, Trustee Brady Scott.
So the rationale that you provided in terms of what is happening with the meetings, because I do recall there have been meetings where our meeting dates have been on the same day.
Sure.
So to alleviate that was my concern. But, so I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you. Clerk Legally, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Brady Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. This is just housekeeping, but I had to pull them off procedurally at the same time. So can I get a motion to approve the designation of board meetings for 2025?
So moved.
Second. And are there any comments from the board? Seeing none, Clerk Legally, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Brady Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. We don't have any formal reports of committees or commissions, but I just want to thank the Community Relations Commissions. We have our chair, William Thompson, and our co-chair, Jackie Hook, is here. Great job collecting codes for open access during the our winter celebration. And then also want to thank all of the residents who have contributed to that code drive. We had a nice pile of codes that went to help some people in need. So thank you to everybody who contributed to that. Also, as alluded to earlier, we are working feverishly while people are celebrating December. We're already looking forward to celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his memory through our Day of Service coming up on January 20th. So even if you aren't hosting something, I'm hoping that you'll get involved in something. There'll be more information on our website. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for the community concert, classical music concert that I host every year on the Sunday of MLK weekend. So that'll be January 19th at 4 p.m. at Flossmoor Community Church. And that will raise money for the Center for Food Equity and Medicine, which is run by a resident who's near and dear to us, Ann Jackson. Next up, action items. Can I get a motion to accept and approve the fiscal year 2024 audit?
So moved.
Thank you so much. I have our finance director, Ann Manoa, here to present, and she's going to introduce you to Mr. Brian Lefevre from Sigich. This is great news. We've got an unmodified opinion, so Christmas present of sorts. And this will allow us to apply for another GFOA award or any already done. There you go. And if we are awarded this award for financial accounting, it'll be our 47th consecutive year. So great job to the finance department and all of our department directors on all of their important work that they do throughout the year on behalf of residents. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Village Board. As the Mayor said, we are here before you tonight to present the fiscal year 24 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, or the ACFR, as well as the FY24 Single Audit. As a reminder, this report typically comes to the board at the second meeting in October, but this year we did file an extension due to a management turnover and my maternity leave. The FY24 audit was performed by Sigich, and in a moment I will pass it over to the partner at Sigich, Brian Lefevre, to get into more depth of the numbers. The village received the highest of opinions on both the ACFR and single audit, which is an unmodified opinion. An accomplishment that came out of this audit for the village is there were no management comments, meaning there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the village's internal controls. This is a phenomenal accomplishment for the village and specifically the finance department. Before I pass the mic over to Brian to get into more depth, I just want to give some recognition and thanks to a few people. First, to the village manager for supporting me as a new department head and trusting me in my recommendation to file the extension in order to ensure accuracy. Second, to the other department heads and assistant department heads for helping the finance department with this audit. This is definitely a joint effort, and without the professionalism and talented management staff that the village employs, the audit would not have gone as smoothly as it did. Last but definitely not least is my team. The finance department consists of only 6 employees, all with important roles. The success of the FY24 audit is a direct reflection of their hard work, professionalism, and support. A special recognition to my right hand, the Assistant Finance Director, Malia, who's sitting in the back room. Fun fact, her and I only had 14 days together before I went on my leave, so it was a tight turnaround. So special thanks to her for her hard work and dedication to meet the deadlines for this audit, as well as any other project I brought her, which has been an incredible amount of projects lately, so thank you, Malia. Okay, now to get to the audit results, I'm happy to introduce Brian Lefevre, principal at Sigich CPA LLC.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to add one more thanks to our village board members for all of the prudent policy-making decisions they make for staff to enact to help make us so successful. So thank you so much for setting a great tone. Appreciate you all. Welcome, Mr. Lefevre.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Sigich, I'd like to thank the mayor and the board for inviting us to present some brief comments on the report resulting from the village's audit for the year ended April 30, 2024. The annual comprehensive financial report contains 3 sections: the introductory, a financial, and a statistical section. What's required under Illinois compiled statutes for an audit of the village is all contained in the financial section. What makes it a comprehensive report that allows you to receive that award is what's in the introductory and the statistical section. So as was noted, the introductory section includes that award, and that's on Roman numeral 9 for those looking for the award. It was the 46th consecutive year that the village received the award, and that would be from last year's report, because obviously you're all accepting this, and then this report will get filed. So highest level of financial reporting with that award is considered to be the most transparent audited financial statement that you can prepare, and it has to do with the depth of the information that's required in the program, along with that statistical section that has a lot of good tenure trend information. So while I'm not going to cover any of those pages in particular, in that statistical section, I would encourage you to look at that if you're looking for trends in terms of fund balances for your general fund, for example, or property tax rates would be another example. In the financial section, the first page there is our signage letterhead. This is on our letterhead because this is what you engaged us to do, is to issue an opinion on your financial statements. And in order to issue an opinion on your financial statements, we're required to follow two sets of standards. The auditing standards, which come from the AICPA, the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants. And those standards tell us the types of procedures we need to perform when we're conducting our audit. The second set of standards are the financial reporting standards, and those come from GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. GASB sets the rules for financial statements for local governments, and each and every year there seems to be another standard that's required to be implemented, which makes the challenge of both the auditee, the village, and the auditor, signage, challenging because the rules change each and every year. But each and every year we navigate that process with the village team. Pleased to issue what's called an unmodified opinion. As Ann mentioned, what that means is that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, free of material mistake. And this is the highest level of opinion that you can receive on your financial statements. You also know by the fact that you received that award for 46 years, you receive that highest level of opinion each and every year because you cannot get the award without receiving that opinion. So if you're not going to receive that opinion, game's over, right? You move on. You're not going to even apply for the award. So hats off to the village board leadership for policy making, and obviously, as Ian said, it's audited up the entire village. It's led by the finance department, and everyone's involved in that. So that's the main opinion on the financial statements. The second opinion that was referred to is a single audit. What's a single audit? A single audit is when the village expends more than $750,000 in federal funds in any particular year, and the federal government says you need to have those grant programs audited. And it's a single audit of all of your federal expenditures. That's why it's called a single audit. So in that single audit, there's two opinions. One opinion is in the document in front of you, which is your compliance with internal controls over financial reporting and laws and regulations that have a material impact on the financial statements. Unmodified opinions related to that. What does that mean? That means, like Ann said, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies in your internal controls over financial reporting, and then you're doing what's required in terms of documents that need to be prepared from a legal standpoint, like the tax letters. The second opinion is in that separate single audit report, and that's on your compliance with major programs. So your one and only federal program was the fiscal year ending April 30, 24 was the year that you expended over $900,000 in ARPA funds, namely COVID money, has a lot of different acronyms, so it's $952,000. So no exceptions or question costs related to your expenditures of those funds. So from a high level, that's what we do related to those opinions. In terms of the document you have before you, just a couple of highlights, and I can dive into more details, but I'll keep it brief. Management's discussion and analysis, which is just after the audit opinion, that's the executive summary of the report. I realize that this whole document is a lengthy document, so start with the management discussion analysis that's prepared by the village. It's the executive summary. GASB requires that. It's a very good document about the village's financial statements. The other section that I always like to cover with you is just so you know where the information is related to your pension funds. So in the section that's called the required supplementary information, there's information about all three pension plans: the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, Police Pension Fund, and the Fire Pension Fund. The first set of schedules in that section tell you that you contribute at or more than what was required by the actuaries. So that's the first way of looking at a healthy pension plan, is are you putting in what's recommended by the actuaries. IMRF's funded a little different than police and fire, but you're doing exactly what is being asked of you in terms of funding. And then the the other piece is after we put in that required funding, we have basically a financial snapshot from the actuaries, December 31st, 23 for IRF, because that's their fiscal year end, and the IRF plan went from 89% funded to just under 94% funded. And then your police pension plan went from, and that's measured, police and fire then are measured as of your fiscal year end, so April 30, 2024, and then the police pension is 60.4% funded, and your fire is 43.6% funded. State average for Article 3 and Article 4 pension plans, I think the last study I saw from the Department of Insurance will be right around 45 to 50% funded across all the funds combined. The last piece that's in that section is how did the investments perform? We're a couple of years into the consolidated funds for both police and then for fire, and the performances on both of those were above your actuarial rates of return. Those are what I would consider to be the highlights of the report. In conclusion, while there was a reschedule to the audit, once it was rescheduled, there were no further reschedulings. This is right where we thought we would be once we adapted to changes in the village, and also accommodating the fact that we schedule our resources out several months in advance. It was the usual agreed upon date. Got me to the meeting this evening before you. Your staff are very professional, easy to work with, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'll go ahead and entertain questions from the board. I'll start with Trustee Driscoll.
No individual questions for you. I just want to congratulate Anna, once again for keeping the string alive. 47 years is fantastic. You guys do an excellent job, and just thank you for your report. Obviously, you guys play a big part in that too, as our check and balances to what we're doing. So we appreciate the work that you do, but we really appreciate our in-house staff and what they've done. And congratulations to the rest of the board for a job well done, also on the management of the overall budget.
Thank you. Trustee Lofton.
I too chime in on congratulating success in 47 years. Receiving this award is no small feat, so congratulations on that good job. And I also appreciate the fact that you put it in a form that we can understand and read. Take the time to do that, so thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you, Trustee Lofton. And I think you bring up a really good point. For folks who are looking at this and want more information, our annual budget, staff does just a really great job of putting in more background so that you can get familiar with the village operations and also past history too. So I would encourage anybody who wants more information, don't just look at the annual financial report, look at our budget too. It's the most important document that we have here, and it's chock full of great information. Trustee Michaels.
Thank you very much. How's Fred doing? Still retired?
He's still retired.
Okay, let's see, enjoy retirement. You know, in all the years, we've gotten these unmodified opinions. I don't remember ever a year where we had no management notes. And I know that's not a big thing, but I don't ever remember that happening. So, Ann, good job. I think that's outstanding. And it's a testament to what this board, this mayor, what we do on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. We run this village well. There's no shenanigans. It's straightforward. It's transparent. And good job, everyone. Excellent job. Thank you very much.
Just to piggyback off of that, Mr. McKeegan, would you explain what that means, what just for folks who are here, no management report, no letters?
Sure. So there's a document that we provide to the village each year, which contains any adjustments to the financial statements that we propose. It contains any recommendations that we have for improvement, whether they be material weakness, significant deficiency, or deficiencies. These are all the terms that the AICPA blesses us with. And we didn't have any recommendations for improvement in the management letter this year, so that's what we're referring to.
And I've seen other organizations that do have those notes. And so they happen, and that's part of your job, and that we didn't get any of those notes.
It doesn't get any better than that, yeah.
Trustee Musa.
Thank you, and a huge thanks to Director Novoa and the staff and all who helped, all the departments who helped. So I wanted to just have just a minute or two for a few questions, not big questions, just questions. In the auditor's communication to the Board of Trustees and Management, just for clarification on page 3, and I'm sure this will be an easy one, in the paragraph that says corrected and uncorrected misstatements, at the very last part of that paragraph it says, in addition, none of the misstatements detected as a result of audit procedures and corrected by management were material, which is what we're talking about, either individually or in the aggregate, to each opinion unit's financial statements taken as a whole, with the exception of AJE number 06. So I turned the page, because I was looking for AJE, you could imagine I was looking for it, right? And I see this section that says AJE 06, leases, deferred, tower. Can you tell me what that is and why it's an exception?
So what we're required to do is disclose any, so this list of adjusting entries, these are the entries that we propose as part of our audit that management agreed with, that are reflected in the audited financial statements, the annual comprehensive financial report. So then we're required to then tell you of the entries we recommended, which ones were material to the financial statements. AJE number 06 was material to the financial statements. And this has to do with one of those fund GASB standards. This particular one was effective for April 30, 2023 year, and GASB's statement 87 related to leases. The leases that you had as a lessor are those cell tower leases. You don't think of them as necessarily leases, but those are leases under the standard, and we're required to now report those, or I should say the village is required to report those future payments that you're going to receive as a receivable, and they're offset by another brilliant term, deferred inflows. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's...
I see deferred inflows under leases, okay. So there's a direct offset between the 776.9 and there's a direct offset between the 107,654. But then I see 102, 197, and a 17,942 to offset the 120,140.
Yes.
What's that?
Well, because this is termed a receivable from GASB, they say when you receive your payments from, I can't tell you who your leases are with, let's say it's Verizon. Each payment you get from Verizon, they're saying a portion of that payment that you receive is principal and a portion of that you receive is interest. So okay. Allocate principal and interest.
I see it's designated, yes, I see that. Okay, thank you. Just for question. So the other questions I have are for for Manager Wachtell in your letter, which I really appreciated because it brings us up to date with a lot of things that happened. And especially because of the timing with us having a little bit of a delay, we know a whole lot has happened between the end of the fiscal year and now. So the letter, I understand, reflects just up until April 30th. And so we don't see the building of the completion of the basin, we don't see the hiring of certain people. So when will the board receive a further update for all that's gone on in 2024?
So next year's budget and audit will reflect the activities of this year.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, you mentioned on page, it's 7, Roman numeral 7, I think it's in your letter, that the board, the mayor and staff continue to work directly with the board to continue focus on these initiatives, which refers to the strategic plan. And I do trust that the board, that the staff is working on those, but I'm curious about when the board will receive an update to the plan, because I might have forgotten, but I don't recall that we've received a review this year or last.
Review happened, I believe, in June of this year. We're working on another update right now. And then we're also working on our mid-year financial review that'll happen in January too, as well. So there will be some updates on kind of the big picture financial and project discussions will be coming before the board in the upcoming months. And then the budget process will start internally with staff here in the next few weeks, and we will present a preliminary budget in March of 25.
What you're saying does coincide with my memory, but I don't seem to remember strategic plan, going through all the different, pillars of that plan. Did I miss that? I just forgot me.
Yeah, I'd have to look back at previous agendas, but we have had one this year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Trustee Brenda Scott.
Yes, as everyone stated previously, job well done in terms of digesting this information. I know the board, we just received this past weekend, so I will say for myself, it'll be a little bit more work to make it all make sense. I wanted to just dive in a little bit on the pensions that you spoke of, and you mentioned how we have to invest, or we should invest at a certain level, and it's recommended that we meet that level of investment or exceed it. Can you go into further detail about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So if you look at page 73, these are the contributions that the village made versus what the actuaries at IMRF recommended. So the way IMRF is funded is employees have 4.5% come out of each and every paycheck for those participating in IMRF. So those would be your non-sworn police officers and firefighters. And then the village is required to pay the employer share, which is based on the actuarial calculation for the village of Flossmoor specifically. So the village of Homewood would have a different IMRF rate than the village of Flossmoor, for example. So you pay your fair share in, that 4.5% plus the employer share gets paid into IMRF each and every month. So you see that the amount that the village contributed is exactly what IMRF recommended each and every year. That's because it's funded based on a percent of covered payroll, not a dollar amount. So if your payroll goes up, the amount you contribute would go up because you have a higher payroll for the individuals in the plan. So that's how funding for IMRF works. Funding for police pension is we have 9.91% withheld from each officer, and then each year the independent actuary for the village gives you a dollar amount for the whole year. So they're estimating what that dollar amount should be based on the assumptions, based on payroll as of the day they did the valuation, and then their estimates of where that payroll is going to go, where the investments are going to go, etc. That's a dollar amount. Typically, the village has levied a property tax to fund that dollar amount. Based on the percent collected from the county, you're not going to get an exact match to what was recommended. So if you look on page 74, you can see that the village contributed $1,196,000 versus an actuarial recommended contribution of $1,067,000. That was fiscal year 24. You look at fire, 9.455% for the firefighters from their checks, and these are all state statute This is the local rule. Article 3 governs police pension, Article 4 governs fire pension. And so for fire pension, the actuaries had a contribution requirement of $433,000, and the village had contributions of $468,000 via the tax levy through the county coming back over to the pension plan. Each and every year you get a new dollar amount from the actuary. They look at what's happened over the last year. Did your investments do better than anticipated? Did they do worse? Did you have salary increases greater than, so on and so forth. That's the process that happens each and every year. Right now, the village is funding based on being fully funded by the year 2040, which is also what's in statute as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Brian, can you highlight, in certain years, there would be times when that actual contribution is less than what was passed in the levy? Can you highlight why that would occur?
So that can occur with the tax bills in Cook County not necessarily being out the same time each year. So if you think about that, if you don't get a tax bill until later than what was originally anticipated in statute, then the timing of when those cash flows come in to the pension plans would be different in one particular fiscal year than another fiscal year. So that's a Cook County issue versus a Howard County issue, mainly because Cook County is so large, so that you don't have a tax bill when you make your first payment of the year, March 1st. You have an estimate of the prior year, whereas where I live in Batavia, in King County, we don't pay our first installment until June 1st, but we have a tax bill that comes out in April, but there's not nearly as many individuals and businesses in King County, obviously, as there is Cook County. So it's a size issue that slows down the process oftentimes.
So then we would have seen that impacted in 2022 when our tax bills were delayed?
Correct.
In addition, pensions are subject to the tax cap, and so that's part of our ability to capture that money in future years as part of our production resolution that we passed this evening. We're able to go back and try to capture that in future years if we are cut back through the tax caps.
Thank you, Trustee Daggett.
And thank you so much for everything you do. We have a employee appreciation day where we do a barbecue and we sit in here, we put tables in, and a bunch of food's brought in, and I always try and sit with a different table each year. So I sat with who was most of the finance department was there, and they nothing short of rave about working with you. One of the reasons, my understanding is that we didn't have the manager's letters because we've improved a lot of the use of technology and kind of went away from maybe some older standard ways that we did things, and that was you bringing that. So that is a direct result of you being here. And I've long said that in the village of Flossmoor, we have the most amazing directors and we have the most amazing employees, and you're proving it. So thank you for everything you do. Malia, thank you so much for what you do. Anytime I have a question, they always have an answer. If they don't have it right then, they get it to me quickly. I've never asked a question where I felt like, even though I know you guys are always busy, where I felt like I was putting you off, even though I know oftentimes I was. I appreciate that, and that level of professionalism and commitment to what you do for the village is very, very welcome. So thank you, really appreciate it. And Sickers, thank you for all the hard work you guys do to report on this and answer our questions, because we have a lot of them. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, Clerk Brigado, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, approving a development agreement by and between the Village of Flossmoor and BG Park Center LLC?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Before I invite our presenters up, I just want to thank the board for their assistance in drawing businesses in, also supporting local businesses, and supporting incentives like the TIP that we created in Class 8. But for these incentives, this development would not be a possibility. Actually, no development would be a possibility. It's pretty much mandated nowadays. Also, I thank staff for their execution and expertise, especially with regards to legal and building codes. If it weren't for their work, this development would not be a possibility. We have a great team that can execute a vision very thoughtfully, so appreciate everybody's efforts. Village Manager Wachtel, would you like, I'd actually like if you would give a little bit of history on this property, because this might be a little new for some folks.
Certainly. So this property is about, well, not about, it is exactly 0.83 acres on Flossmoor Road. We have been trying to redevelop this property for a little over 20 years at this point. It's 5 parcels that were originally homes on these property, on that property that were converted to businesses years ago. In 2005, the village board approved a development for a mixed-use development, 9,480 square feet. It had retail on the first floor and 12 condo units above that would have been high-end condo units going for about $500,000 a piece or more. And what's notable is that it was 2005. The market fell out, bottom fell out of the market, and the property went into foreclosure and sat for a number of years. The village was able to acquire this property in 2018 for $85,000, and I think it was a prudent move by the village board at that time, being that the property is on Flossmoor Road and adjacent to the central business district. The village board wanted to ensure that it had control over the development not only from a zoning perspective, but also for the with respect to who the entities are with the. We have spent a considerable amount of time talking with various developers over the years to try to make a project happen, and tonight is the culmination of discussions with one developer who believes that they can make a project happen for 13 townhomes and a cafe, 2,300 square foot cafe space that they're going to present to you this evening. This is the beginning of the discussion. That because the village is the property owner, the conversation has to start at the village board level. And with the village board's approval of the redevelopment agreement, there will be several benchmarks that the developers will need to meet to be able to conclude on receiving the property and the TIP eligible expenses that they will be able to generate through the development. And certainly our village attorney can talk about that in more detail. But with that, I will, unless Mary would like me to address anything else, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I want to welcome Byron Gregory and Jean Steinberg here. Between the two of them, they have 85 years of development experience, both residential and commercial. They are longtime residents. They raised their families here. They have a vested interest in this community. And I've been trying to grab their attention to get them to do something on this property for a long time. So I am thrilled that they're bringing this before the board for our consideration tonight. Like I said, they have a very successful residential and commercial project track record, completing projects in Tinley Park, Forest, Bronzeville, Waukegan, other parts of Chicago, Homewood, Frankfort, County of the City, Olympia Fields, Palos Heights, Soft Trail, Madison, over 100 projects over their professional careers, making them a very impressive duo to be in front of us. They've got a plan that addresses several of our concerns with regard to ownership, density, right? We don't want to have something that's too dense that our area can't handle. Parking concerns, we have a lot of those. Our town is very popular for folks to visit. Also retail, making sure that we can fill our retail spaces and we have the shoppers to support them. Profitability, and then also the ability to fund this project. And then last, but no less important, are aesthetics and green space. So again, this is just the start of the project, but I want to welcome Mr. Gregory and Mr. Steinmarch. Thanks for coming.
Good evening, Board, Mayor Nelson, also management and trustees. Thank you all for having us today. So I'm grateful. Thank you. I'm grateful to present this proposal for our mixed use. As Mayor mentioned, I'm a long-term resident, 25 years in Flossmoor, 10 in Homewood. Children, it's been a benefit to children, grandchildren, and we'll see what next, okay? But it's been very good for my family. As my partner, Jamie Steinmarch, we've worked together for roughly 20 years on different projects, individually and jointly. So, needless to say, I've watched this project on my walking path every day, and I've been watching it for 20 years. So, I've had many visions about what could happen there, but it's a challenging site. It's a prime site. It's challenging because it's large on Flossmoor Road, but it's not big enough. It's still basically infill housing. You know, there's 3 or 4 homes there. It's just infill housing, but it's very high visibility. So I think creatively, we found something that works without the number of apartments, rentals that we have to do to make it work. Just too dense for the area. Parking, just density. So we feel this is the highest and best use in our opinion. So we're going to play run a couple slides. I'll let King present the slides and we'll answer the questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
For the record, my name is Gene Steinmarch. I have a residence at Homewood-Flossmoor Lane Court. That's in Baythorn. I also have a residence over for many, many years at 801 Park Drive. When you grow up, don't let your girls stay in their house or you'll never get it back. I was a chairman of the planning commission here for 10 years. Just by way of background, that was the days when Trustee Micros and myself were both still sitting in Harvard. And I've been active locally as Byron and the mayor said in development for 45 years, I think. When Village President Nelson first brought me this project, she said, would you take a look at this? I hope I can do her. I said I will, and I started with, if you go from it's the very first slide. You know, between all the numbers that are thrown around here tonight, I'd have been better off staying at watching the Bears because you know you're going to get small numbers. Actually, the one that has the property at the municipality commission. I looked at the property and I know that that's something that the village commission, that drawing, that plan. And
I'm sorry, hold on a second. It's the advertisement that we have on our website.
It's the very first one.
It's separate from those.
Oh, I see.
You have
It doesn't. We looked at that, and she was very interested in trying to make something like that work. We tried that, and then we stepped away from that a little bit. And by the way, the lending group, those guys are my partners in several deals. So I have nothing but good things to say about the Lehman Group. It's just that they just gave you a very nice drawing. It's not feasible economically. So then we looked at projects which may not look exactly like that, but which would have a lot of apartments, as many apartments as we could fit on the site, as well as perhaps some commercial on the first floor level. And we could not make that work. I'll just tell you a little bit my background real quickly. I've been doing this for so long that I actually did the numbers for Lincoln Mall. That's how long I've been in the business. Lincoln Mall was funded, constructed, and it's now gone. And I'm still, in the business. That's how long. So the point is, we ran those numbers. We kept changing and amending the project, but still trying to build something we could be proud of. And so we know that with some assistance, we can do this project. We believe we can do this project, be proud of it, adjacent to the main portion of our town center. And it should work hopefully for everybody. It will have the maximum number of rooftops that I can fit on there and still be proud of the project. It would have this small cafe, which we're not really going to talk about yet because we don't have the guy yet. But that's where we're at. And Byron's going to discuss the numbers as far as taking you through the project, what we've got envisioned. I heard this evening one of the ladies say, I would love to have a lower priced apartment or an affordable apartment so I could live in Flossmoor. I would love that for my wife, frankly. For both of us, but but we can't make that work. And you may look at the village of Homewood and say, well, they just did a building in their downtown area. The building of Homewood actually paid, guaranteed, a certain return to that development. And if you call the village of Homewood right now and ask Angela Maceros, their director of community development, if they would ever do such a thing again, she'll tell you no. So the point is, we can't make that work. We can make this work and we can make it beautiful, I think. And we're very proud to bring it to you.
So our desire was to bring something that would be kind of a jewel in downtown Flossmoor. You come around Sterling, as you turn Sterling, you have this big lot. I feel we get a diverse housing stock. We could bring new residents to Flossmoor. Even if it's just change some downsizers, they're going to sell their homes. Because we have a big problem in our real estate market. People won't leave their homes. So if they have nowhere else to go, so we're trying to give some options. We figure we kind of mix some downsizers, some young families. We have two models. There's a basic model. There's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, only 2 stories, so it's not like it has an urban look, but it doesn't have 5 levels of townhouse. So we got the first floor, second floor, and then the full basement. Then we have a 4 larger units, which we call our B. It's a master bedroom suite on the first floor, second master bedroom on the second floor, first master bedroom on the first floor. So we get 2 diverse markets. Some people, I think our average square footage is about 2,600 square feet, not including the basement. So they're really spacious units. They're not real narrow. So they're comfortable homes for families or downsizers. They have to have a basement, 2-car garage. Sometimes you just don't want to get rid of all your stuff. It's important to you. you have someplace to go and not feel congested. Now, it's part of it. We can say transit-oriented development because the mentioned right there. And, you know, that's a good term, the mentioned there. I like the extension of our downtown business district, town center. Because I envision people walking down Sterling, past Gypsy, you know, on the corner, and extending all the way down to Flossmoor Historical Society, possibly. And that'll just become a walking area, or a cafe, whatever. We'd like to build the homes first, and then target the right fit cafe/restaurant. They'll have a rooftop deck. So we envision that traffic that now stops at the corner of Sterling and Flossmoor Road, coming all the way around. And it actually coincides with your improvements to downtown center. The Sterling, we're going to do some streetscaping. So we'll have a pocket park, small pocket park, open to the public. We'll have some type of buffer to separate us from the homes that are there. That will be determined what zoning planning, you know, was allowed. The restaurant will have its own park, we'll have street parking. We'll match the lights, small aesthetic things like the light fixtures that we have downtown Flossmoor. We'll duplicate those on the site. So you have a combination of people, cafe, pocket park, and then on to the right, to the east of the cafe, that's another little private cafe area, eating area. So if you walk down Flossmoor Road, I just think it'll be a very attractive plus for the area. And it introduces a new housing stock that we just don't have. I think the last townhouse, maybe where you want to pay for it. And that's the suburban type. It just gives you an urban look, an urban feel. And I'm a part of everything that happens in downtown Flossmoor. You know, I make the concerts at the library, you know, Oktoberfest. I think this will just extend that around that corner. And now we have a circle. You know, we have our sculpture park, our art park. So I envision these recipes on residents just walking. And it will bring certain new clientele to our stores, our commercial spaces. As the young lady alluded to earlier, it's a real challenge for commercial right now. You can build them, but they stay vacant. But the ones we have are very solid. You know, Flossmoor Station, we got Maureen's Place, we got, you know, the deli, we got Bistro. I was at Bistro last week at, you know, the Vegan Fest. So it's just, you know, all kinds of new things going. So this will just add to that stock of residents that are in downtown Flossmoor at any given time. Yeah, so this is a view of how we envision it. Plenty of people, plenty of walkers. These folks can easily be walking around to Sterling, back and forth. That's what we see. Low density, the units are not overwhelming. That's what we want to cap. Our height, I know there's no height restrictions right now, but as far as this type of housing, it'll be compact enough. A lot of green, someone mentioned earlier, green space, or you can see from our rendering, that we consider green. Yeah.
So I should just briefly say, because we promised we would be brief, this is just the beginning of this process. We understand this is a very special property for you. I'm sorry. This is a very special property for you, and it's going to be a very special property for us if we get involved. This is just the beginning of the process. We've got site planning hearings to go through and so forth. But in order to get to the next step of the process, we need to spend quite a bit now of additional funds beyond what we've already spent. So we don't want to get to the end of this next 4-month period and not have a position with the municipality where we can have the property if we do all the things that we say and we meet all the meetings like this. We understand there'll be plan commission meetings and so forth and so on. And we certainly welcome those things. And this is a quick look at a vision of what we've got in mind. We hope you'll take the property off the market for us for 120 days and let us try to make it work.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take questions from the board. Trustee Lofton, can you kick us off?
Well, thank you. I'm impressed, quite frankly, and I'm impressed with the fact that you gentlemen who are residents here, you've got some skin in this meeting because you're here, you're going to see it and hear from all of us. I appreciate the fact that you've indicated that apartments, we had a number of presentations on apartments, and they were all just fairly cumbersome, I thought. So this concept to me has a lot of value to it. I think it will bring some folks, depending on what the pricing is, on it, but it looks nice. And it's been a long time since I've been here, just being a vacant lot. And there's no value and it ain't pretty. So we appreciate you. I'd like to hear more from you.
Thank you. Trustee Mitros.
I want to thank the Golden Girls for presenting it. It's been wonderful. But that was our target probably back in the day. It's good to see you, Gene. What everyone forgets on these apartments are the economically feasible. If something happens and you've got 60 apartments in downtown, then the developer's buying them back for 20 cents on the dollar, 15 cents on the dollar. And what happens? He puts people in those apartments. Okay? We don't want that. This has got to be, anyone. This has got to be feasible economically. You guys have to make some money on it, and it's got to look good for us. And Gene, and I'm so happy you guys are here today. So I think this sounds like it's economically feasible. Flossmoor has no townhomes other than Baythorn. I mean, and I hear it all the time from people, guys like us. If I only had a townhome I could go to, so I think it'd be tremendously successful with these if you do it right. And in that initial Linden thing, that all goes back to Frank Maher, who's going to grab the Civic Center around. So that's going way back. But I really think you're onto something. The downtown Homewood, they're trying to sell that building already for $12 million.
Yeah.
They just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, we don't want that. We want the longevity of you guys walking by it every day for 20 years and saying, I think I could do something with that.
He said he's going to give me a bin shop.
Would you name on it?
Yeah.
Oh, you pay for the name. The naming rights.
We should say one thing. I don't want to get into a confrontational on this end.
Right.
And we'd rather address directly to the board. You may know that Kathy Orr protected you substantially in what she negotiated with us as far as a potential TIF agreement.
Right.
And the school district takes the first whack out of the window.
Right.
The Urban Land Institute says we're only going to generate 6 kids in this project.
Right.
So I think it just has a chance to be really good.
And I'd be surprised with 6 kids. Really.
It's still a very challenging project.
Oh, I know it is. And I think you guys will do an excellent job. I'm totally behind you 100%. And I'm anxious for it to start because I think it can be economically feasible. And I appreciate you guys coming for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment. I think it'd be helpful for our village attorney Carl to make a comment on TIF eligible expenses and what that means. Developers will come in and ask you for the sun and the moon, but there are laws around what you can and cannot spend TIF money on. So Kathy Orr, who's not with us tonight, but Carl is filling in for, she really did cut you off at the knees, and appreciate her good work and also your flexibility. So I'm going to have Carl say a little something about TIF eligible expenses.
Kathy is neater than I am, but she also is an expert in TIF.
Very difficult, she is.
Yeah, she's very difficult. But she knows what she's doing, and the redevelopment agreement is drafted does protect the village interest. It's not where the village is just saying, here's a bunch of money, good luck with the project. It's a reimbursement basis, and it's only for eligible expenditures that are permitted under the TIF Act itself. So that's where we have a budget of TIF eligible expenses. It has to be things that are related to the development, and it's a very broad category of expenses that do qualify in there, but it has to be something that is specifically related. This project, the developers can't say, oh, well, we spent too much money in Homewood on something, so we want some money for it. It has to be related particularly to this project. And it's a reimbursement basis here, and they have to fund it, and if the project succeeds, the increased value of the parcel and the tax revenue that is generated from it would go towards paying those TIF eligible expenses back to the developers.
After the school district gets its share.
If there are students produced out of the townhomes, then the school district has protections under the TIF Act, and I believe it's up to 20, 30, approximately 30% is the maximum that the school could get. That goes first. You know, so it's a tuition based off of how many students come out of the project itself. And there may not be any, depending on the type of individuals that buy the townhomes. So if it's families that come in with children, then there will be contributions required under the TIF Act to the school district.
Maybe getting a little far afield. I don't want these people to think this is a done deal, really. There's so many hearings ahead of this.
Thank you. Trustee Mustafa. Thank you very much, and you're a very serious businessman, but you made us laugh, so thanks for both. Not at his expense, he's used to that.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much for your commitment to Flossmoor and for being here with plans that are very visually attractive and show your concern and your understanding of what makes Flossmoor attractive, beautiful. So I have just a couple questions. You, and I'm paraphrasing, you said building the homes first and then the cafe. Could you share, if this comes to fruition, what's the time frame? Would you propose selling every single townhome before seeking to build a cafe? How would that work?
No, we already have preliminary discussions with a couple of restaurant operators. We won't commit yet. We'd like to try to sell probably at least half the site. We might get all of them built, at least a shell of all of them built. Then we want to make sure that the restaurant is a fit for the community, because it's not for our residents, for the town. It's to extend downtown. So we're very sensitive. You know, we don't want something that's too trendy and a 2 years from now it's not in vogue anymore. So we want to have something that has some life that attracts. You know, I don't want to say certain things that we want to attract something that, you know, Wi-Fi. You know, I'm consulting with some younger people too, because that's a big profile we're trying to bring downtown. Hopefully, like, okay, Wi-Fi. We don't want to suggest it. It could be a space, a smaller space inside of a bigger space. It's open around. But to be determined. But we're studying it because we have a best interest.
Okay. So my second question is probably just your best understanding. Is your vision and is your plan dependent upon the current businesses staying on Sterling, or if they move or close and somebody else comes, you still have a vision for what you want to do?
So the townhomes, these townhomes bring something that's not, there's no new house. There's no place to put anything in Flossmoor. So there's a desire for new homes. Some people just want new homes. We haven't had that for quite a while. So we feel a big market. Okay. we'll know once we, this today is probably the first of the news getting out, we'll see what kind of responses we get. The signage will be something else, once we approve the signage, that's no further in that process. And then it's got, this is the driven by the house, not
So my last question, maybe attorney, you can tell me if this is too granular, but does the school benefit only with the first students that may move in, or if the townhomes are sold, is it the second wave of students, or is it students whenever?
Students throughout the life of the tenant.
Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
It's an annual certification of how many students are in the residence.
Thank you. So again, thank you very much for your work so far and for your vision. Thank you.
You should know, since we started working on this, I've been approached by another restaurant to go on stroke. I think this has the potential, we always say we're going to get the dust line, and I think this has the potential to generate more things downtown.
Thank you. Trustee Bernstein.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. It puts additional life to the project and answers some questions for me. So thank you very much for the presentation. I did hear some of the residents' concerns, and although I can't speak to the 20 years or so that the property has been vacant, I haven't been in Flossmoor quite that long, but I think that some of the concerns do resonate with, the question of why certain things do not exist and what is a good fit for the property. And I just want to bring another perspective that we haven't really talked about, but has been underscored in the conversation today, in that having 2 dens of a property in that space, because parking is limited, generally speaking, we want to be conscious of our options and the quality of life for the people that we bring in, as well as the residents surrounding the property. So I think that your presentation helps underscore that point, but I just wanted to talk it out loud for those who are here today and those who are online, so that that perspective is heard. I also wanted to say, in terms of when we think about our businesses and where our revenue and so forth comes from, we want to also think that we don't want to be the only ones contributing to the revenue. We want to have and invite outsiders and people who travel within our community to contribute and help alleviate some of the tax burdens that we all experience in Illinois. So in terms of how you presented the aspects of town-owned homes versus rentals and so forth, I think that, again, needed to be underscored, because if you look at the residents and the restaurants or cafe, if we're having persons outside of Flossmoor come, they will need a place to park. And so again, we have to make sure that when we think about our quality of life and the quality of life of the people who come to town, that we want to create the best experience possible. And if we provide roadblocks for them at the onset, then they may not participate or come to our businesses as frequently as we would like. So, those things in terms of just underscoring those points up front. Aesthetically, it looks like a great community. And I know for one that people do look for alternatives when they have outgrown the big houses and so forth, as another option for those who want to stay in town. So we may not even give people an opportunity from the outside to buy these homes, because I foresee people in town trying to take advantage of the opportunity there. So that's wonderful.
To address your parking, so again, each space has 2 garage spaces. And the space just in front of the garages, they have guests, so they can park 2 other cars on their on their property. So our residents on the cafe, we have limited parking. I think it's eight or 10 spaces. But then we've got Flossmoor Road, normally have parks here. So we won't be, so yes, 8 spaces. It was a handicap.
I think you brought a good point up, and I know I'm just going to be really loud back here. Jesus. I'm not sure if you have an eating and drinking tax here, but that's one way. We expect you're going to be drawing more and more people here to your various restaurants, and that's one way that you can derive some benefits from having restaurants in town. I've done 34 projects in Homewood, and several of them were restaurants, and I know there they caught a break because they had the frontage for the racetrack over there on Halsted Street. They do a lot of national restaurants. And the first year that they passed that tax, they expected to get $750,000, and they got $1,750,000. So if we can continue to go the way we're going, I think we could get some shared revenue from people who come to these restaurants are not going to all live in Flossmoor. So let's hope that goes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I do, and I think that this is putting the cart before the horse here, given that this project has not fully developed yet, but because it is in our package in terms of the approving the developmental agreements, I just wanted to talk about on page 85, there were 2 sections in terms of the HOA rules. For 2.7 indicates that the developer agrees that the HOA bylaw shall prohibit short-term rentals, examples of rentals for less than 1 year, and then 2.10 says, what's 2.10? Okay, yes, the developer agrees to sell the property to people who intend to live in it, and so it sounded like it was, it could be rented, but it could be rented, so I just wanted to understand what was correct there.
And we're exploring that. You know, we will have an HOA. We don't have all the covenants and restrictive covenants in place yet. But at the price point, the likelihood of renting it really diminished because the price point is going to be luxury housing in these houses. So that limits it to a degree. But we'll explore as we develop our HOA agreement again. We keep it simple, HOA simple, so there's not a lot of snow, people to landscaping. In this process, we have 20 to 20 days. That lets us develop all day. So once we approve, hopefully we'll get approval tonight. The clock is ticking for us to spend a substantial amount of money. Whatever our lawyers, architectural, there'll be a lot of work that has to be done, a lot of discovery. So some of that will take care of there. But for this to turn into a rental community, I can't say I don't want it. That's not my desire. So we'll do what we can.
So then, with that said, thank you.
I read those two this way. That it's original owners are to be those that intend to use it as their personal residence. And in the covenant prohibiting short-term Airbnb or rentals in less than 1 year. So that it's a long-term resident that's going to be there in the future. Because owners want to rent it out, we can't prohibit that. But we want it to be owner occupied, like at least initially, and if they do rent it out in the future, it's going to be for at least 1 year term. That's just making it more of a long-term residential property, not a rental.
Okay, so on our ordinance, generally speaking, for Flossmoor would not covenant that we would have to write that as an additional, or it would just make sense to write as an additional packet.
That's in the covenants of the development, not us.
We already have an ordinance for, short-term rentals.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there one in place now for Flossmoor?
Yeah.
We do not permit Airbnbs.
Right, it will apply to us.
What's your definition of short-term rental? Less than 30 days? Because this is saying less than a year. So, I don't know what the terms are in your current ordinance with respect to the short-term rentals. Most of the ones that we've done say that it has to be for at least a 30-day period for it to qualify. I don't know whether yours is on a 30-day or whether it's just a 1 year term. Anybody know?
But I would assume the covenant would have it in for a year.
Yes.
So, I mean, they're guided by the covenant that they get when they buy the property. So.
Would you have penalties? We'll have penalties. There's only 13 units, so we kind of easy to go to self-owners.
Would you distinguish between a primary residence and a secondary residence? Someone that lives out in Arizona who wants to spend their summer here?
That's still, I mean, that's long-term, that's not short-term. I think it would be fine.
Still owner-occupied. Any other questions or comments?
I would just say that we need to revisit that aspect of it at the appropriate time, that we do that and we don't make it so that we are not able to talk about that and discuss that again.
Sure, good idea. Thank you.
And as we go through this process, you'll be following HOA, and our restrict our covenants and shit. And yes, you can live in Arizona.
Trustee Daggett.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, there we go. Thank you for coming and presenting.
All right. Okay. Thank you for coming and presenting. All right. I'm here for now. Yeah, thank you for coming. And I do definitely understand the concerns that some of the residents have brought, because for me personally, I would love nothing more than to have commercial condos on the bottom all the way up to the orthodontist. But in commercial real estate, I've talked with everyone who will listen to me about this property to try to send them to the village to propose something. The first question they ask is, how high can I go? What do you mean, how high can I go? Well, if I would put 60 apartments in there, I need parking. And I can only get 30 cars on the bottom. So now I need 2 or 3 levels of parking. And I have to go 7 floors. I'm like, and then they said if you want commercial, I'm going to have to do another one. So you're looking at 7 to 8 floors. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So it is just the finances of it. Or they need 2 acres. And we don't have 2 acres, right? So it's a limiting factor, the finances of it. Unfortunately, it's just not the same as it was 100 years ago to build something like a Citizen. It just doesn't work financially, unfortunately. So I think to me, this is so far the best opportunity that I've seen or have had people even, I've talked to 2 or 3 developers and they're like, this is what it would look like, like that. Okay. So I appreciate the attention to detail on this with having a retail component, but also having some green space. And I think the number and the size of the units, 2,600 square foot is a big size unit. And it's in keeping with, I think, what the need is in the market. So anyways, I won't get into all that. So when you said that the cafe would have a second floor,
Let me clear that. That's like, rooftop, right. That's in our discussions. It's not in this number.
Okay. And then this is maybe a question to the attorney. Would we be able to limit the hours of operation of the rooftop? Just curious.
The good lawyer answer is maybe. I don't know if you have any business regulations on for alcohol. Certainly.
Because I know there's an apartment building right next to it, and just for the noise for the other residents who are buying those, I think that'd be an important component. And I know a lot of this stuff is, you guys now, if we approve it, you now need to get into the weeds and try and really work all this stuff out. But from my perspective, I think this plan makes a lot of sense. I think it's responsible for what it is. We don't have parking for, if we did 60 units, we don't have parking for 90 cars. I mean, if we lose 1 or 2 spots on Sterling, the business is feeling. So I think this is the best use of it. And I do appreciate having that retail component. So I'm in favor of it as far as seeing what you guys can come up with in that 120 days and see if we can get to something that really does work for everybody.
Thank you. Trustee Driscoll.
I just want to thank Byron and Jean for coming tonight and great presentation. When we first looked at some of these proposals over there, I kind of felt like you guys had the Goldilocks approach, just right for the size of the property. It made sense aesthetically. Most importantly, the parking, which you described. Plenty of parking for the family that lives there and their guests. It's not good. You won't have people visiting there, parking, and the other condos behind there, or taking spots away from the renters in the Civic Center. So I think you really did, the original plan fit that to protect the residents that are already there and people visiting the businesses in the downtown area. I would just point out, and then the cafe, also you have the south commuter lot too, which is not that far away either for extra parking if it takes one. So I'm definitely in favor of it. I think all the other points that I want to bring up are already covered by the trustees. But it's a great start, and there'll be a lot of changes, and hopefully not too many, but there'll be some adaptations as we move along to everything else.
So this cafe is a huge success for the South community. We'll discuss that.
That's good. If there are no comments from the board, Clerk Lugard, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Daggett.
Yes.
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitros.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Bradley Scott.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Steinmarch. Clock is ticking.
I'll be working.
Good work.
Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to approve an ordinance of the Village of Flossmoor, Cook County, Illinois, amending Chapter 125 and 150 of the Village of Flossmoor Municipal Codes Business Registration?
So moved.
Thank you. And here's the present. George and Mr. Martel, we have talked about this before, so this is a continuation of the previous discussion. July 7th,
Just get photos. I'll just get photos. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That still makes me sad.
And we need to introduce that into our operations. It not only helps businesses comply with zoning, building, and fire code requirements, but it also helps us to identify vacancies and support marketing efforts to attract business operators to our village. Many people find it surprising that the village does not have a comprehensive inventory of the businesses in our community. As a non-home rule community, we can do business registration and not business licensing. So we brought this discussion to the board this summer, and you have directed us to prepare, to move forward and prepare what is before you this evening for adoption. It is very common in communities for businesses to be either registered or licensed with the village for all the reasons that I stated. And back in the summer, when we had this conversation, we had surveyed 17 communities surrounding us, all of whom included some sort of business registration program. As part of the municipal code ordinances that are presented here this evening, we have also included fees associated with the business registration. They are based on square footage, and they are outlined to be $100 for businesses under 5,000 square feet, $200 for businesses over 5,000 square feet, and then $50 per business if the business is located at the same address and unit number as another business, such as an incubator space, which was a point of conversation back in summer months. Tied to the business registration is not, tied to the business registration is also the, covers the cost for us to provide an annual fire inspection of all of these properties, and we've delineated the cost differential based on square footage, because obviously it takes more time to inspect a property of greater size. The program will run annually between January 1 and December 31 each year. We are prepared to move forward with with this program in 2025. We would be moving forward with notifying our business community of this new registration, and we have already started to spread the word that this conversation is going to be happening this evening through the Flossmoor Business Association last week. But we are prepared to move forward with the adoption of this ordinance to effectuate this beginning in 2025. It has required us to implement some additional software through BSNA, but we've been able to figure out how best to do that moving forward, and I think that's outlined in your memo, some background on that. Moving forward, we'll be able to use that same module for liquor and raffle licensing as well in the future. So there are two ordinances for your consideration. One establishes business registration process in Chapter 125, and then the second one in Chapter 150 establishes the fees. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm going to start with questions from Trustee Mitros.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Trustee Mustafa? No questions. Thank you. Trustee Rediscott?
Yes, I do have a few questions. Since we are rolling this out for everyone at the same time, and the businesses do have a heads up that this is coming, is it likely that everybody is going to do the paperwork, pay the fee all at the same time? And what is their time period to comply?
We will be putting together an actual application where they will have to return it by a due date. I'm not sure if Mr. Butler or Nicole can comment on either of that question, but I'm not involved in the actual registration component of it. But we will be putting together an application, requesting information back. From there, we'll know based on the size of their business what category they fit into, and then providing them a reasonable time period for which to comply with business registration and proceed from there. So failure to register with the village would be considered, not meeting village code, and so we could issue a citation under the local adjudication program for not meeting village code. But ultimately, we're looking for compliance. We're looking for the information of who's in that business, contact information, compliance with building and zoning, and so forth.
Thank you. So the reason that I asked is, in the paperwork it says that on page 100, reasonable time to comply, and so that it, just to make sure that it's consistent for everyone and no one is being penalized. If someone has an electrical issue or something that is found to be problematic, or they were in the spot for 30 days, 90 days, and so forth, that everyone is treated the same way, so that everybody can that our policy is uniform since it's something new.
Yeah, and I'll comment that the inspection process is apart from the registration process. So there's a whole fire inspection. Our fire inspectors are very reasonable when putting businesses on notice if they're not meeting a code, assisting them with understanding what they need to do to come into compliance, helping them develop a reasonable time frame. Again, we're looking for compliance. We're not looking for, the fine.
And is the landlord going to be kind of responsible for letting us know that there is a new business, to let them know what the policy is? Is it in the hands of the landlord now that they are informed of this?
No, it'll be in the responsibility of the business owner themselves. And really, up to this point, when new businesses come into town, they oftentimes think that they have to be registered with the village. So it'll be very natural for a new business to contact them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Jenny.
Just for clarification, this is a registration program, not a licensing program.
Correct.
Which means that we don't have a lot of people, like we can't say, you haven't done this, so then you can't do business right now. So I think that's a good distinction to understand. I do really appreciate the setting of the prices and having consideration for some small businesses and creator style businesses, not necessarily. $50 doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be an extra card reader that keeps going on a Saturday. And for a small starting up business, they're doing it, as seeing if they can make it something bigger, and it's very valuable. We want to keep them a little bit out of their pocket. So thank you for that consideration. I think Flossmoor do. I think something's really important, and it does allow us to kind of keep things a lot more organized with our village. There have been other people that you don't even know who's doing business there. So one thing is this does not account for someone who's selling Avon or something like that out of their home. This is a brick and mortar store registration process. So someone who's selling cookies and selling weed, it doesn't apply to this. Just that we have a business and a business location. So, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Driscoll.
I was going to say, just to run by the attorney, usually new business moves in 30 days. Once they move in, that they have to get the registration. That'd be fair.
I think that would be a fair time period. I don't know that I saw that specifically set out.
Right, no, but I mean, until we get to that point after this, we can do that. No, all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lawson.
No questions.
Thank you so much. Clerk McGavin, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Driscoll.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton.
Yes.
Trustee Mitchell.
Yes.
Trustee Mustafa.
Yes.
Trustee Reverend Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Gay.
Yes.
Trustee Lofton. Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
2 yeses.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We do not need to go into executive session, so I'll call for other business, and then we'll go ahead and adjourn. I'll start with Trustee Mustafa.
No, I have nothing to say for no questions.
Thank you. Trustee Bradley Scott.
I hope I'm not being too forward in saying this, but I just wanted to recognize one of our residents who suffered great loss, and her daughter was memorialized today, and that will be Ann Jackson for the Center of
Food Equity and
the Center of Food Equity and Medicine. Her husband gave quite a compelling ask and of the community to just come together and support not their initiatives, but I just want to implore those that sit here today and those that are going to come back and listen to this meeting that they consider donating to her charity. The family gives quite a bit to the community and going through all of the things that they have gone through, especially this year. And the years they have always showed up and always put the community first. And so if you have it in your spirit to donate to their cause, please do so. And again, the website is foodequityinmedicine.org. And and the other thing is just happy holidays. I don't know about you all, but Christmas and this holiday season came around too fast. This year was a blur, and prayerfully 2025 will be much better than this year. So happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you so much. Trustee Daggett.
Yeah, just a couple of thank yous. I wanted to say thank you to John Brunke, Richard Wattel, and also the representative from Baxter Woodman on, I think it was the 6th. They moved up what they intended on doing to have a discussion with the Flossmoor Small Business Association about the upcoming streetscapes, and just made it to where they can come in and ask any questions. I appreciate you guys doing that and listening to them and saying, yeah, what questions you have, here's the plan, listening to the concerns, taking lots of notes to consider those things, just to make it a smooth transition, because it's going to be disruptive. It just is something that's a good project, but taking that extra time and doing it far enough ahead of time that they have time to think about things and other questions that might come up. So thank you for taking that time. Also just wanted to say thank you to District 161, Dana Smith, Parker Junior High. I'm able to work with some good friends of ours. Renee Ruffin has a not-for-profit called Faithful Meals in Motion, and they have an event every single year. And Parker, for the last 2 years, has had them in and allowed them to use the gym. It's a fantastic organization. Basically, they go to schools in surrounding areas. They get specific names and needs of the kids. They make sure that they show up. They have a gift with their name on it. They get a meal, just to make their holiday that much more special. So thank you to District 161, Dana Smith, and then also Parker Junior High for opening those doors. And I will share much more information next year to get more and more people to help. But they've been in Flossmoor now for 3. She's moved it to Flossmoor from a neighboring town that wasn't so welcoming. So I appreciate even Flossmoor residents who also get involved with them. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Trustee Driscoll.
No questions or comments. Just want to wish everybody happy holiday season and hopefully get some off time and relax.
Thank you. Trustee Walton.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Trustee Michaels.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. Be careful and enjoy your season.
Thank you so much. Clerk Lombardo.
2 things. First of all, at the last meeting, I mentioned that I would follow up with the board regarding the minutes, and I believe the village manager will send out an email tomorrow regarding that. That's already been drafted. And then second, and just thinking about the business registration program, I'm not sure if it would be possible, or if there's any thought about like putting the businesses on our website. Perhaps that could be a possibility with links to their websites, some identifying information about them just to help promote them in any way. I don't know. I mean, it would be like, not the primary reason, of course, but if there's any way to get some attention from it, it might be a nice thing to do.
Thank you so much. Village Attorney, Acting Village Attorney.
Besides happy holidays, there are a few new laws coming into play every year, and a couple of them I just wanted to highlight. Anybody with at least 15 employees that are going to be posting job positions that are available, whether it's promotion or from outside, you have to not only have the salary range, but now benefits spelled out in the advertisement. So if you are posting any, you're going to have to modify your practices. And the Illinois Department of Human Rights has had in the past 180-day time period to file charges that went to 300 days to match federal. It is now 2 years as of January. So it's a longer period of time in which individuals can file complaints of discrimination under state law. appointment-based, and I'm sure we'll have some more updated for you.
Thank you. The IML review that you gave us for this meeting has pages of new things.
Yeah, they're good. It's not to read.
Pages of legislation and new decisions.
Thank you. Village Manager Martel.
There was two things to comment on. Trustee Mustafa was bothering me about the update on the strategic plan, so a little bit of searches in between discussion here. Our last formal update to the board was December of 23. We have been working on an update, and we'll have one coming to the board here in the future, so I wanted to acknowledge that. My memory was not correct.
That's okay. I just look forward to it.
Following up on Trustee Daggett's comments, yes, John Rumpke and our design engineer and myself attended the Flossmoor Business Association meeting to walk through the Central Business District improvement plans in anticipation of the construction that will happen next year. As we put it, we're going to be remodeling their house with them in it. And we emphasize that it was the first of several conversations that we'll have with business owners to ensure that they feel that their needs are addressed throughout this process. Once I got awards the bid, which will probably be in March, then we will host an open house, which will also include the resident engineer, who will be on site and be a point of contact for all of our businesses. It will be a requirement for the contractor to be able to maintain access to the businesses for all the hours that they are normally operating. So nobody's access to their storefront will be shut down. And that will take some coordination and some staging as they move throughout the downtown. We'll be working closely with the contractor and the resident engineer on that process. So it was the first of many conversations, and of course they're apprehensive about what's to come, but they're also quite excited. We will also be flexible throughout the construction period with respect to parking and trying to boost as much shop local messaging and marketing as we possibly can. It's incumbent upon all of us as a community to be supporting small businesses, as it was mentioned here this evening. And then finally, I would like to give a thank you to Stephanie and Nicole and really our whole team who have worked so hard over this past year to celebrate our centennial. We provided the board an update in this week's manager's report on the activities of the year, and everyone has done just such a stellar job in making the year fun, festive, connecting people, educating people, reflecting on our history, and moving us forward into the next century. So I want to thank the whole team, especially Stephanie, Nicole, and Jonathan for their work on celebrating this centennial. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a few things. Looking forward to the Holiday Lights Parade on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. So please step out your door. The route is posted online. We will be celebrating Hanukkah nightly starting on December 25th and Kwanzaa starting on December 26th in Flossmoor Park at 5 p.m. So I hope you'll take some time. They're really short but meaningful ways to come together and celebrate the holidays. Also, there continues to be strong interest in business spaces. I just toured a space with a potential business owner this afternoon. And then I want to reiterate thanks to our generous sponsors, all of our volunteers, all of our community partners and organizations who have made this centennial year incredibly special. We've had international recognition, regional awards, record grants, and started some major infrastructure projects that have plagued the village for decades. So thanks to the board, thanks to all the folks in the back who helped direct our departments, and thanks to all of you for all of your engagement on a daily basis. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever you're celebrating. Happy New Year. Hopefully it is full of joy and merry. Let's see, motion, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Have a great evening.